Beneath the weight of centuries, the Colosseum stands, a monument to glory, blood, and the echoes of a fallen empire. But what secrets lie buried in its sands? Today, we step into the sandals of Rome's final gladiators to uncover the truth behind the deadliest arena ever built. Imagine the roar of 50,000 spectators, the clang of steel, and the gasp of a man taking his final breath. For nearly 500 years, this was Rome's theatre of death. But how did it begin? And why did it fall? Long before emperors ruled the arena, gladiatorial combat began as a sacred ritual. The Etruscans of northern Italy staged fights at funerals, believing bloodshed purified the souls of the dead. By 264 BCE, Rome adopted this grim tradition. 3 pairs of enslaved men duelled to honor Junius Brutus, a funeral gift for his father, a senator. But this munus was no mere ceremony. It was a political statement, a display of wealth and power that would ignite an empire's obsession. These early fights were intimate, raw, and deeply symbolic. But as Rome's hunger for conquest grew, so did its games. By 105 BCE, the state sanctioned gladiator battles as military training. Soldiers watched enslaved warriors mimic Rome's enemies, Samnites, Gauls, Thracians, their armor and weapons a living map of conquered lands. Julius Caesar, ever the showman, staged games with 320 gladiator pairs in silvered armor, a spectacle so lavish the Senate feared rebellion. His message, I am Rome, and Rome was unstoppable. In 72 CE, Emperor Vespasian sought to erase Nero's tyrannical legacy. He drained Nero's artificial lake and built the Flavian amphitheatre, the Colosseum. A marvel of engineering, its 50,000 seats towered 12 stories high. But beneath the arena's floor lay a labyrinth, the hypodrome. Here, gladiators, animals, and stagehands awaited their cue amidst pulleys, trapdoors, and cages. This was no theatre, it was a machine of death. When Titus inaugurated the Colosseum in 80 CE, the games lasted 100 days. 9,000 animals were butchered, lions from Africa, bears from Germania, giraffes from Egypt. But the crowd's true thirst was for human blood. Prisoners reenacted myths, burning alive as Hercules or torn apart as Actaeon. And then came the gladiators, the stars of Rome's gruesome ballet. Not all gladiators were equals. The Rotirius, armed with net and trident, danced around the heavily armoured secutor. The Thraex wielded a curved dagger, the Esidarius raced in chariots. Mismatched, yet meticulously paired, their battles were deadly chess games. And the crowd, they knew every move, cheering for their favourites like modern sports fans. But these spectacles were never mere entertainment. They were the ultimate political theatre. By feeding grain and games to the populace, each new emperor cemented his image as Rome's benevolent father, while reminding the masses of imperial power over life and death. On festival days, the Colosseum's corridors swelled with exotic merchants, jugglers, and acrobats, blending commerce with spectacle in a carnival of imperial propaganda. Behind the glory lay the ludus, part prison, part boot camp. Gladiators trained with weighted wooden swords, their lives dictated by the lanista, a mercenary coach. They ate a gruel of barley and beans, gaining fat to cushion wounds. We, who are about to die, salute you, they chanted, but death wasn't guaranteed. A skilled gladiator had a 90% chance of surviving each bout. Their value? Too high to waste. Volunteers signed contracts, swearing, I will endure burning, binding, beating, and death by the sword. Why? For fame, freedom, or debt? Some were nobles. Emperor Commodus fought 1,000 matches, though his opponent's swords were dulled. But for most, the arena was a prison with applause. When a fighter fell, the crowd decided his fate. Contrary to myth, a thumbs down likely meant mercy, a gesture to sheathe the sword. But if the crowd roared, Jugula, kill him, the victor plunged his blade into the throat. Yet even in death, gladiators found brotherhood. Unions called collegia ensured proper burials, their tombstones etched with wins. Flamma Secutor lived 30 years, fought 34 times, won 21, stood 9, died 4. At their height, the games were propaganda. Trajan celebrated his Dacian conquests with 10,000 gladiators and 11,000 animals over 123 days. But Commodus twisted the spectacle into madness. He entered the arena dressed as Hercules, slaughtering crippled prisoners and elephants. Senators watched, terrified, as he waved an ostrich's head, hinting, "You could be next." Rome's elite now saw the truth. The games weren't for the people, they were the delusions of a tyrant. Philosopher Seneca once walked into the arena at noon, witnessing the ludi meridiani, the executions of criminals. "The men have no armor," he wrote. "Why skill? The outcome is always death." Yet even he couldn't look away. Rome was addicted. By the 5th century CE, the Colosseum stood silent. Christianity's rise condemned the games as pagan. Economic collapse emptied imperial coffers. But the final blow was simpler. Rome had lost its stomach for blood. The last recorded games, 435 CE, the crowds now sought salvation, not slaughter. Legend tells of a lone monk, Telemachus, who in 404 CE sprang into the arena to plead for mercy and was slain by the very crowd he sought to tame, an act that so appalled Emperor Honorius that he permanently banned gladiatorial combat thereafter. Though the Colosseum's superstructure remained intact, its vast hypodrome fell into eerie silence as the last beasts were released or perished, and Venationes dragged on only until about 523 CE. During the early Middle Ages, Rome's great amphitheatre was reborn as a fortress and even a makeshift village. Noble houses like the Frangipani and Annibaldi turned its arcaded vaults into strongholds and workshops. But by far the cruelest fate was inflicted by Rome's own poor. More than 300 tons of iron clamps were pried from the Travertine walls, and peasants stripped gleaming marble to build churches and palaces across the city. Then came the earthquakes, first in 847, later in 1231, and most devastatingly in 1349, when the southern exterior collapsed and its rubble was ferried off for St. Peter's and other grand projects. It wasn't until 1749 that Pope Benedict XIV stepped in, consecrating the ruin as a sacred shrine to Christian martyrs and laying out the stations of the cross around the arena's rim, his decree finally sparing the monument from further spoliation. And yet, in a twist of fate, the name Colosseum endures not for its colossal size, but for Nero's own colossal bronze statue, the Colossos, that once loomed beside it, its shadow long gone, but its memory immortalized in Rome's greatest ruin. Irony, the tyrant's monument outlived the empire itself. Today, the Colosseum whispers stories of courage and cruelty. Were gladiators heroes? Victims? Or both? They fought not for empire, but for survival, in a world where life was cheap, but honor eternal. As Maximus once said, "What we do in life echoes in eternity." And in these stones, the echoes still roar. Join us next time as we delve deeper into Rome's forgotten voices. Until then, remember, history isn't written by the victors, it's written by those who survive.